Today we're talking about what an above average player looks like in Warzone, and we're looking at Repeat Viking, which streams regularly over on Twitch. I'll have a link down in the description if you want to go ahead and check him out. But we're going to go ahead and break down a gameplay that is statistically above average in pretty much every category. I went ahead and reached out on Twitter. I'm looking for a player with about a 0.9 KD and about 2 kills per match and with about a 2% win rate, because this is statistically slightly above average. And we're going to get in a little bit of the graphs. We'll talk a little bit about gameplay and give tips along the way. So one of the first things we'll go ahead and talk about, I have a long list of things, and I gave him some personal tips as well when I was DMing him. But right now, they've already jumped out of the plane too early. You can see the flight path was going all the way across the middle of the map. You should jump out of the plane a little bit closer to your destination so you're not going to have to glide as far. The other part is we're looking at a location that is kind of arbitrary. I've watched several hours of gameplay to see certain patterns across different matches, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in this skill range are making these same mistakes, and we're going to go ahead and watch this through because there's so many little nuance and different things that you are probably doing that you're going to probably be offended slightly, because I'm going to be honest about the problems with the gameplay, and it'll obviously apply to you. Those who want to improve will take that and improve. Others that don't will just say that I'm whining or whatever the case is. It is what it is. You know who you are. If you want to improve, you're trying to get better. The other part is how slow he is about looting, and this is a common thing we've seen when we've spectated randoms, and I've mentioned it several times, like, oh, they're kind of slow on looting. I went and actually timed several players that are well above average that you would consider competitive in terms of Warzone, and usually wherever they land, they're usually in and out of there in between 60 seconds up to about 2 minutes, so 120 seconds. And for him, the average time he's in a location is 5 to 7 minutes, which is a long time to be at one POI, especially when you're landing. It's just too long in one location. You're not really moving around the map. You're not really getting focused on that aspect of it. The other part of it, he misheard his teammates' audio as footsteps. I didn't hear any footsteps behind him. It is definitely the teammates that like right above him. But the other part is landing at a POI that you're not as comfortable with. And you can see his teammates kind of lagging all over the place. But I think a lot of times you should be choosing somewhere in the center of this map. That's why Peak is so popular by top streamers. It's just because it's easy to rotate out of there. You can get very comfortable with it. The more reps you get. But it's not necessarily the best place for a little bit less aggro players that maybe still need to improve in certain areas. So clearly defining where you like to land somewhere near the middle of the map. And the reason for that is because it will likely be in the map. Even if it's a far right zone, you have an opportunity there. Top right, top left, or bottom left, you'll be able to get the experience in those areas. And you might go, well, that area might be contested. Okay, well, win that contested area. If you don't get into engagements, you can't expect to improve in your gunfight thing. So what we're going to do now is we'll also, while this gameplay is going on, like I said, they loot for a while. Let's talk about the stats while all this is going on, and we'll get back into some of the tips. So one thing that you guys can see on the screen, this is the KDs of pretty much how it lays out for Caldera and Rebirth. And what you can see on the screen is that the most or vast majority of the KDs fall in the 0.5 to 0.8 range, and that's where most common, like if you just pick all the players, threw them in a hat, you grab the players one by one out of the hat, more than likely you'll get a player that's between about 0.5 up to about 0.8, and that is the most common. Where we get a statistical average of like 0.92 in Caldera and a 0.96, we're able to get those averages because what happens is for every kill, there is a death, typically in Warzone. But if you break your ankles and then you don't get revived, or you die in the gas, or something along those lines, there's not a 1-to-1, so the average KD always drops down. But just because the average is something like 0.92, that does not mean that that is the average. The most common KD of a player is between, like I said, around 0.6 to about 0.8, 0.85, and that is where the vast majority comes in. If you are above a 0.85, you are probably in the above average group, despite what people will say. They'll say, they're a bot, but they're better than like a lot of people, so they're definitely not a bot. And this is the vast majority of people you run into. If we get back to the gameplay, you can see right now, he's waiting for his teammate to grab this scavenger so that they can get a satchel. Instead of just jumping down, He's not really kind of looking around. If somebody had a sniper, he'd get sniped instantly. So he's not really covering for his teammate. Either way, he should have just jumped down, grabbed the contract, get the heck out of there. His teammate does not need a satchel that bad. You will likely kill someone that has a satchel. So right here, we know that there are people on the map. We can see them over here. We can see them highlighted. There's 2 of them, and their loadout is right here. And he gets the idea, hey, you know what? Their loadout's right here. He ends up accidentally grabbing the wrong loadout. AMAX still very good on Caldera, especially in duos, which majority plays. And the person he is playing with has similar stats. So it's not like I just cherry picked whatever. I watched both of their POVs on multiple games. And it's very, you know, they're right at even when we're looking at that stuff. But what we'll see is a lot of inconsistency on how they want to push gunfights. I would have maybe pushed up, took an angle, know that these people are going to come across. They end up, you know, coming over and hitting this prox mine. But it's kind of one of those things that, you know, that gives away the position and his teammates able to get the downs, which we'll see. But you can see right now they're fully plated. They have an obscene amount of money with 12K and 11K. They should have already left. Like, there's almost no reason to loot still. Gets quick fix, which is nice. But in general, you have way too much money. You already grabbed your loadout. Get the heck out of here to either kill those players because you have guns, they likely do not, and get out of here so you can rotate to another part of the map. There's a lot of passive, slow, and I don't even think they realize it most of the time, just because when you kind of get into your routine, you can kind of just go through the motions. Obviously being on console, 80 FOV, all that stuff, that has no bearing on this because there's plenty of console players that are doing it fast, quick, and have high KDs just from having those urgency to get into those engagements. Because in reality, if you get maybe 4 engagements a match versus somebody who's getting 8 to 10, the person who gets an 8 to 10 engagements is going to improve, and it's a huge power creep, right? So that it's just going to keep getting, the gap between those players gets bigger because of the number of engagements. So his teammates getting the stuff. Another part is they don't really give clear, decisive comms. He's asking where. He should have live pinged it so he knew exactly where it was. They both got killed. He comes through, grabs a bag, and is still pretty good here. They're going to get this recon bounty, and they never look at the overhead view of the map, which the whole point of the recon is to see where you're going to go ahead and rotate to. You can count how many times by the time you've seen this, how many times they pulled up the overhead view of the map. They just don't do it. When they do the recon, like I said, they should be looking at the overhead view of the map. It just does not happen, and that's a huge part of it that you may not even realize that you should be doing to go ahead and reposition. Right now, we also have a UAV out, and you can see there's 2 people on this left side of the map and then 1 on the far side. And that is another part where it's like, all right, go cut these people off. You know where they're at. Easy. He's going to go ahead and run out here, has a direct line of sight, could challenge them, gets caught up on this railing because not familiar with what he can and can't hop up in this area because he doesn't land that often, right? So he comes through over here. He knows where these people are. They could have their loadout or could be working towards their loadout. You can see that they were in that building, but he comes over here and is like, I have to grab this 800 cash, even though I'm sitting on over $50,000 combined with my teammate. Climbs this ladder, which is in line of sight of the people he just marked, so he could get shot in the back and have nowhere to get cover or anything like that. Basically screwed if it doesn't go his way and he doesn't get lucky that they don't come out. That would have been like the perfect part there. His teammate takes that to get up on the roof. They're going to jump in the heli. He could have waited a couple seconds for his teammate to land, but he's like, all right, you're going to come up top or down low. They're worried about the gas. So we've been in this area that they landed at relatively like next door for 7 minutes before they actually leave this POI. And that is a huge problem. Still haven't looked at the overhead view of the map to know where the zone's going. So you would know where to position and say, you know what? I like this power position. It's strategic. There's a buy station. I like this building, whatever. So I can't even give good intel on, hey, where are we trying to move towards on the map and point it and circle it. It just does not happen when we're looking at the gameplay. So they're focused on this. They start to get shot, and we're going to see some other stuff that happens here. Keeping in mind, this is an above average player that plays the game. And when you look at the lobbies, they're typically in the top half of the lobby. Not the very tippy top, but the top half of the lobby. So they're generally going to be better than the majority of people in their lobbies. And if you did the same thing about your lobbies, you're probably in the top half, unless it's just hurting you. So now they're going to go ahead and throw the heli, and look at this right here. So right here, the zone, we can't even see it. We see this line. He hasn't looked at the map once to give that intel. They're going to throw this heli instead of holding on to it for the next 2 minutes or so until the zone collapses or whatever, and then use that to rotate to the next spot. They're just going to toss the heli so it loses all value. They're going to land over here, not grab this contract. They're going to get into a hot area and still never check the overhead view of the map. So why choose that location? Like, what about that location is good? His teammate jumps out. He decides to throw the heli. And then now, because he flew so far past his area, people can see the helicopter. They're going to look at the helicopter. As soon as he jumps out, he could have been beamed, literally destroyed while he's in the air, broken, and then get full sent on. Which is kind of one of those things. I did talk to him in DMs. I said, okay, it looks like your ADS sense is a little bit high for you. What is it? And he said he had a 6.6 sensitivity with a 1 ADS sensitivity. I told him he needs to lower it down to a 0.85 or maybe even lower, depending on, you know, where that fits. Immediately, that should fix a lot of your aim. If you feel like you're getting a little bit of squiggly and your aim just isn't as accurate as good players, it's your sensitivity, because pretty much you can fine tune it so that you can be accurate. Like if you're not, right here is kind of like a weird part to get worried and caught up on this vehicle. Like they just let it drive away and it is what it is. They didn't push. It kind of looked like it was a solo in the car, a 2v1. They could have destroyed this dude. Obviously they could get traded out or whatever, but they're still sitting on close to 60 grand, right? Like in cash.
We're over 60 grand together.
So now they're going to go ahead and push to this buy station. And they're split, right? He's making the move to go to the buy station. And then his teammate's just sitting up there.
Dropping in on me, dude.
And he says, oh, there's people dropping in. He was like 5 seconds away from the buy station. You hit the buy station. You get a UAV. If your teammate dies, you have enough to buy them back. It's not a full send back up the hill with no intel, and you'll see this ends up biting them in the butt. It takes 5 seconds to go hit that buy station, pop a UAV, grab another UAV, run up the hill. By the time you get there, hopefully your teammates killed them, and then you pop the other UAV to make it a little bit easier. He gets up on this guy. He could have probably stepped up a little bit closer. You end up missing a couple bullets there that give the guy enough to walk away, and he doesn't like ping the guy so that the teammate would know where to shoot. And the teammate doesn't know where they're at either, right? And I think the guy ends up hiding like in the bush or behind the barrels or something, because he looks where the guy is and I don't see him. But the guy would have been on the UAV most likely. So he gets destroyed here and his teammate helps to clean it up, and then they start to rotate down, right? So there's instances right here where it was just a poor use of your money. You're sitting on 30,000. Don't have self-revive. Could add UAV, self-revive, a lot of intel there, and then controlled this position. Again, this is a random position where it's like, what are you doing over here? Like, what's going on? So they're flipping out over this car that's going to the buy station. And then I'll point out this part. You can hear the buy, you can see the buy station, and he heartbeats, and he's like thinking the guy's on the right when it's obvious the guy is in the air, right? So it's like the guy should be coming down. You should be looking up vertically. Take that guy out. And that guy ends up not being a really good player. He lands directly right there. Gets destroyed. And then you can see the guy's weapon clipping through the wall because he's actually touching the wall. You can see where the ping is. And you can see him clipping through the wall. Right here, you can see him clip. Oh, he checked the overhead view of the map for a quick second. His teammate goes in, destroys him. And that was that, right? So now here's where a lot's going on, right? We got those vehicles, you got the SUV going by, you got the quad, you got somebody firing their weapon over there. So there's a lot of action happening, and you're gonna see what they do with all their money. They're focused on getting a second loadout and like all that stuff that really isn't all that important. You get a UAV. You could get a second loadout, which is cool. Both get extra perks. Maybe he'll get the gun he actually wants because he wants an STG. But you can see there's still no overhead view of the map. I'm not going to edit this part because I want to focus on the overhead view of the map. You can see where all these players are. We don't know where the zone is, and we don't know where to rotate to. But if you're trying to get into conflicts, this is the time. If you're trying to avoid conflict,
We got
this
people
is the
coming,
time
brother.
to have some urgency, some pep in your step. Get the heck out of here. Rotate to the SUV. Rotate to the Bertha. And get out of here. You know the area is clear. There's a helicopter in the air. There's people landing. But still, no intel. Where is the map? I want to know where we got to rotate to. But they're worried over here. He could still get a gas mask. Or not a gas mask. He can get a self-revive. His teammate, he could have dropped some money for his teammate to get a UAV.
UAV as well.
There's a lot going on, right? So he dropped some money. Here's that. They're still in this building. Nothing's happened, right? And these are common things where it's like, what was the point of the advance? To waste all that money? That's literally what happened. You just wasted all that money. The SUV that was nearby, somebody else took it. They're going to take it to rotate and get into whatever position. But we don't know what's going on, right? So they, they're still focusing on admiring the kill, which is cool, right? Enjoy your kills, especially when they're fewer. You can appreciate them, have some fun with it. But this is the point when they should have used that UAV, rotated, and got into a better power position to either hold players or not, right? We know there's a player up on this hill. At least there were a couple because that helicopter's still there. There it is, overhead view of the map. So we have an overhead view of the map. We can see that there's a heli down over here. You can see that it's likely gonna push, it could pull up here or down here. Beachhead's a little bit more in the middle. They're not too far out of the zone, but the recon didn't really help them much. This is the first time they've really looked at the overhead view of the map. And there's really not a lot places to go until that zone actually shifts. But you'll see as soon as it comes in, he's not checking where that zone is shifting. And this is going to be a common thing. There's certain critical points in the match when you should be checking the overhead view. And this is every time the zone collapses, so you know what it looks like. Obviously, we can see there's a little bit of a line saying, hey, you need to go over here. But the problem is, what does that look like? How do we get over there? When we do get over there, are we going to be at the edge? Are we going to be working towards the middle? What are we doing? There's almost too much going on that they're not even paying attention to that. Shoots this guy, which could be annoying.
So many people around.
And they're still in this area. Going to walk with the gas, which is perfectly fine. But you got to have a clear plan of how you want to do this. They pop the UAV. There's people on this side of the map. You can kind of see what's going on. So now he gets another UAV. Moving across. They know that there's somebody landing from above. There's still a group behind them to the left and a little bit far left. There's people in this building to the right that they're going to be able to hold. They don't really acknowledge it too much. But you can see that there's like 4 or 5 players on the right. There's a guy landing above. That is coming for that scav, right? So he's sitting right above. Probably on a regain. Got lucky with the gun up top or something. Who knows? So now they're just chilling. Waiting to see if this guy's going to push. Loadouts too. So for example, if you're on console, I actually think the Carver foregrip is probably better for you. In general, for the STG, they get team shooting. And then I would put an optic on the well gun. You're just going to be more accurate with an optic.
He came in with all that.
If you're a better player, cool, get away with it. But I think in general, the regular optic is good. So they got that. He grabbed the contract just so nobody else tries to grab it. And then we know that all the people are to the right. Have to rotate. There's no urgency getting that line of sight. There's no urgency to look that way. There's really like a lot of just slow tempoed play. And I'm not saying you need to be cracked out, movement, whatever. That's not the point. The point is how you move through the match and how you play the match. His teammates kind of posted up, checking out that area. They're waiting for the zone to push. They close these doors. There's some ammo in there, which that's a little nitpicky, but he's going to need ammo later. He could have grabbed that right through the door. So we know from looking at the mini map from like 2 minutes ago that everyone is coming from this area. He's mounted up. I would start shooting much quicker and getting more downs. You can get all these guys in the gas because they have predictable movement. They can't go anywhere. They really can't shoot back because then they'd have to stop. You can get this dude. He gets a down.
Oh my God, dude, there's people
and he doesn't adjust. His aim is pretty good there. It's just he doesn't adjust to hit the guy. He ends up getting this guy that's just running like crazy. An easy little kill at 60 meters. Helicopters kind of moving around the map, being annoying. But you can see all these people. He can't really mount up, so this is where his aim is going to show a little bit of weakness. But I would imagine after he adjusts the settings, his aim is going to be much better.
Fucking team over there just shit on them.
So there's a bunch of people in this little hut. He's going to be able to just clean up some average kills. People weren't able to plate. They're on the edge of the gas. This is like the ultimate third party. You still want to figure out about getting into the zone though, and that's where kind of where it's struggling. Is he hasn't really, they haven't really talked about their next rotation. They haven't looked at the overhead view of the map. He could get the ammo through those doors, but it's like, let's get out of here. Now they're focusing on getting in. They're going to run across. They made all this noise, so now people kind of have an idea where you're coming from. Good little peek to the left there to just double check nobody was there. Could have bad timing and somebody still shoots you in that area. But right here is probably when you want to call in that UAV, because then this will allow you to rotate. Obviously, people have ghosted, but now ghost shows people that are standing still, even if they have ghosts. So if people are camping up, you can see he's a little bit behind the shots, whatever. But UAV should be popped right here. And they end up going, and they could have taken this guy out, and then this would have been their spot. But they didn't call it UAV. His teammate throws like a thermite or something.
Bro, I had him.
And they get into trouble when they could have pushed that aggressively, and his teammate ends up dying right here. So UAV is still on hand. There's a guy up close. He catches him. The rotation, good little drop shot, takes that guy out. He's getting shot from behind. His teammate's trying to help. That was the guy who they spotted earlier. Still could pop a UAV. Now you're all alone in a duo. You kind of sold by leaving your teammate, right? Like, he could have been that. That is a terrible gunfight to take. Pop the UAV. You could rotate up, make a dead silence play, and shoot that guy in the back. It's an easy kill. You can see the guy called in the precision. If you go up behind you, you take that guy out. You get that power position. And now you're into this hut, right? So there's a lot of these nuanced little things that it's like all these things add up in the decision making. There's a guy out here, ends up being easy kill. You can see him right in the middle by the loadout. He tries to mount up, which is pretty smart if you want to try and, you know, get easy shots. But just fine-tuning your sensitivity, you're going to shoot much straighter just as it is. So he takes this guy out. Also, you could use a 3 to 6x if you want to make it a little more consistent because of the way the zoom works on here. So he has two people. Instead of maintaining this head glitch, he peeks out. No strafing really. Stands still and gets obliterated by these guys. So I'd love to do more of these. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.